Ladies and gentlemen, oh, you can't hear me because I got my mask on, my quarantine and chill mask. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's your boy Sean Q, my partner, like always.
Jay Roman.
Together we are OSP, and once again we are coming to you from the safety and security and the comfort of our homes, our significant homes. You are in your home comfortably. I see the pictures of baby girl in the back. I'm in my home comfortably. And we got some stuff we got to get into, like right into it. So let's jump into it. That's sure if you saw, I took my mask off. So the reopening of the country is not going as well as the government thought it would go. Apparently, there's still a virus out there, and people are still getting sick. Did you know this, Jay Roman?
No, I think it's a hoax. I think they're just making these numbers up. They're just out of nowhere. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a scam. Type in any three numbers into Google and put new cases and watch the shit that comes up. It's a scam. It's fake news. So stupid. So the governor of California, which is where we're living, I feel like he's like the parent in the living room, and California residents are kids playing in the room. And when he let us start coming out and do stuff, he was like, "Don't make me come in there." And then people start getting sick. He's like, "Don't make me come in that room." That's what the fuck is happening right now.
Yo,
He's,
I feel like that's exactly what's happening right now. He's
he's
like,
gonna,
I'm pissed off, and y'all gonna get
yeah,
it.
he's gonna come in here and make us shut the whole thing down. But like, all right, see, I tried to let y'all play, but y'all wanted to fuck around, so shut it down now. So I don't know, man. I know what Florida and Texas have already what reclosed.
Yo, the crazy thing, no, they haven't. Here's the unfortunate thing. Florida now has a huge spike in cases. And they were talking about, if I'm correct, and please someone, if you want to fact check it, whatever, I could have sworn they said they had 7,200 cases in a day. Or was that us in California? I don't freaking remember. All I know is some ridiculous number, right?
Right.
And the biggest issue right now is it's our age group now being infected the most.
Hmm.
The biggest spike right now is 18 to 40. So now everyone who thinks that they're young and in shape and oh yes, I'm not going to get sick because we're opening, whatever they thought, it's all wrong because
Hmm.
it's raging like wildfire, man. It's crazy. There's already a county down here in Southern California next to San Diego. I don't know the name of the county. I've never heard of it before until they said it. Has shut back down. Governor Newsom has said they're shutting down. They have a stay-at-home order now in that county near San Diego. It's getting that bad. Texas, they are learning from their mistakes a little bit, but you still have people in there that are refusing, of course, just like us. So it's hard to even say. As of this morning, as of this recording, only 2 states actually have a decline right now, and it's like Rhode Island and Connecticut or something, some crap like that.
So Quahog and the people from Family Guy are good to go, and everybody else is still at risk. Good to know. That's shitty. So did you hear about? I know in our last episode we talked about Juneteenth and we talked about our fearless leader, our just what Trump supporters call. I'm sorry, who Trump supporters call just the ballsiest president ever. Just the
Ballsiest.
the balls on that guy. You gotta love him. Fuck out of here. So did you hear about his rally?
Yeah, of course I did, because not only was I kind of waiting to hear the numbers, I really wanted to see how many Yahoos might show up to this with no mask, no distance, and no cares. Because they follow a leader who thinks that that's a show of strength to go into a pandemic and be amongst the people. I mean,
Hmm.
granted, not himself, of course, but remember, just a couple months ago, his driver had coronavirus. His
Hmm.
driver. I don't believe we would ever know that he would ever get it. I think they'd
Absolutely.
keep that under wraps till he
So
dies.
it's a show of weakness. You can't let the
You know,
leader of the free world be shown as weak,
it's
even though he's
insane.
106 years old.
And it's really just goes to show a really old way of thinking of what leadership is. Oh, this virus ain't gonna get me. I don't need to wear a mask. You know, makes no sense whatsoever, man. It's an old, outdated way of thinking that's how you look powerful by not doing what scientists are saying to do to stay safe. You know what I mean? I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I can't even express how tired I am of people arguing over the mask as if we're taking away freedom, liberty, and their lives. Like, come on. It's just insane.
I don't listen. I don't believe in science. I believe in me. Okay? I'm smarter. I know things.
But what I did like about the rally though is that not a lot of people showed up.
No, no, it was like his is what is it called? Inauguration. It was like it was not a lot of people really want to go see this motherfucker. And when he does have rallies, like we never see how big the crowd is. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always on him. They're like push all 47 people up closer, please. Make a lot of
Well,
noise. Make a lot of noise.
the unfortunate thing is there is a lot more than 47, of course, which
Yeah.
that's not the point.
Oh yeah.
But the other unfortunate thing, I mentioned this in a podcast that we did, I want to say 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. Actually, I think before the new year, that the Republican National Committee has now raised another something crazy amounts of millions of dollars. And it just kind of goes to show just how much hate will pay to be able to keep hating freely, and bigotry and all that stuff. Crazy thing about the rally is they actually ordered the people to take off the "Do Not Sit Here" signs that the arena had placed on these seats, basically every other seat, kind of.
Yeah.
They ordered them to, not only did they order them to stop it, then they ordered them to remove them all. So they had the crew taking them off. And then, of course, 8 people showed up to the rally sick, or who helped set up were sick, at least 8. But there were a lot of empty seats, and that kind of made me happy. And there's a few funny reasons apparently why that may have happened.
Right. So one was it could be a hoax. It cannot be a hoax. What's explain to me what you read, because what I read was that there were a bunch of people were buying tickets to go with no intention of going.
Yes, of course.
The end result.
Now, I'm not sure how much they could do with that, but apparently that is possible. A friend of mine did get tickets from out here. He lives in the Valley, like I forget where exactly, but San Fernando area. Okay. He had his tickets. He posted online, "I got my tickets. No, you will not see me there. You know what's going down." So I guess a lot of people did that, but apparently some of the blame is being put on this K-pop, not group, but K-pop fans and stuff like that. So what's happening is I forget the name of what this is called, but they're taking these hashtags and these events, and they're bombarding them with stuff from K-pop, like songs and dances and like sexy things that they think is sexy, and putting white supremacy on there and Whiteout Wednesday hashtags now to just flood that hashtag or whatever with these crazy things, so that every time you see it, you're like, oh, Whiteout Wednesday, and you get thousands of K-pop images and furries, and I mean, the furries have joined it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh, I heard about it somewhere. I forget where it was.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I haven't even looked up one of the hashtags, even when you told me a couple of days ago to see.
Yeah, I don't want to, because I don't want more popping up, because Google follows you. So
yeah,
you put in white supremacy, you're gonna get all these white supremacy ads.
Right. David Duke Jr. would love to be your friend on Facebook.
Oh no.
The fuck? No, thank you.
You know, if David Duke Jr. wanted
there is a David Duke Jr. I was just
whoever wanted to talk to us, talk to me, talk to you, legitimately, I'd say let's talk, because I need to hear from the person. Granted, they have tons of videos saying it, what they hear about it, and I need to try and challenge it. You know what I mean? I want to challenge it, because I want them to dig deep inside, because I don't think we have it here in the notes today, but about this supremacy and all this stuff, and with the climate right now, racism has now been deemed a health emergency, a health problem, a diagnosed almost disease, right? Mental health illness, something like that.
I'm not racist. I have a mental health issue.
No, not exactly. It's just more of a public health problem, as in, actually, okay, I'm sorry. Let me clarify this. A public health problem for people of color. Okay, so I'm sorry, not that, oh, you have a mental disease, that's why you're racist. No, that's just because you're stupid. No, but they are starting to put together pieces as to why Black people suffer from so many different diseases that others don't, and Hispanic people from so many different things that others don't. Same thing as they show coronavirus has affected Black and Latinos much more disproportionately than it has white people, and the effects are much more are much harder, because as a Black person, you deal with more stress naturally than say I do. You know what I mean? Because you're out there and people are just looking at you for something, just because you're Black. Besides, you being a beautiful man, you know what I mean? They're looking at you like, what's this guy up to? You
Right.
know, and like that's the unfortunate truth about what's going on. So that's where that part is. That's what now when it cut my point in me bringing this up is I've said this for years. If you're racist, if you for some reason think the color of your skin makes you superior as a human over another human in any way, you have mental health disorders. You are on the spectrum, and you're on, unfortunately, a low part of the spectrum. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of very intelligent people, and I mean like book smart, possibly street smart, that are racist, prejudiced, biased, bigoted, whatever. But that does not mean they have not had a mental illness digging in their brain about this, because it makes no sense.
None
I've said this
whatsoever.
for years. I've said this for years. Cut me, cut you. What's going to come out? Red blood. Plain and simple. Nothing else. It doesn't make any sense. But that's something to be addressed, you know, over our next centuries of living here. You know, so
So
not
what
us,
you said
but
is
generations.
when things kind of go back to somewhat normal and we are allowed to get in the studio and have guests, we need to have a good old white supremacist, full supporter, believer to come in and sit down and just chop it up with us. Just chop it up.
I didn't say in
Just chop it.
studio. That may cause some issues,
Right?
but
Just
like
chippy choppy. Just sit
maybe
down
over
and
the phone.
go over some facts about why he's better than us and in what way. Yeah, why the sun affects him differently. Love to sit down and chop up with that dude. So you posted we were talking about since as of it was 6/22, which was less than a week ago. It says 120 more people have been killed by police since the George Floyd incident. Some were legit, some were not legit. Police are killing people every day.
Yeah.
Nothing's different. I guess it's just the only thing that's different is the same thing that's been different is awareness. People are just more
Yeah.
aware now of how many people get killed by the police.
Yeah.
And the number is not obscene, but it's not good when you look at how many people die
Yeah.
at the hands of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Which I feel like people weren't paying
And it's
attention
not just black people, and it's not just Latinos that have died in the
to.
last few months or a couple months since George Floyd's death. It's a lot of people. Of course, it's more black and Latinos, but it's the crazy gun culture that we have and the crazy policing culture that we have that it's such. When did they become such? And granted, it's probably been like this forever. Such a shoot first type place. You know?
The question that I asked, that I always ask, that I will continue to ask, that nobody has fucking answered intelligently is why is shoot to kill the option? I've watched a lot of videos about, like I watched the one where the guy was at the Wendy's and they tried to tase him and he took the taser and he ran. Why does it not occur to anybody to aim below the belt? Do you know if a man is running away from you and you shoot him in the kneecap, he is no longer running away from you? Did you know that that's science? That's just biology.
I totally thought the same thing. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, why didn't they shoot him in the legs? If you're going to shoot him, you know, because apparently, and according to Georgia law, that was his legal right to do that, actually. It's actually legal the way he shot him. But I'm glad that, you know, the DA or whatever was like, no, screw that. He shot him in the back as he was running away. He's going down for murder, or he's trying to go down for murder. Yeah, why don't you shoot him in the legs? What happened to warning shots?
What happened?
I don't get that, man.
When people shoot, I mean, I'm just so confused by it.
I'll tell you this. There was a guy on the news, and he was, I forget if he was law enforcement from Georgia, but he was like a high top law official, retired, whatever. So he's the reason I even know that it was actually legal for this cop to shoot him, because the idea that he had was this man is now on the loose with a taser, with a weapon. He's desperate, right? He had warrants on him, or not warrants, but he could have gone back to prison. Granted, again, just like everything else, they bring this stuff up. We didn't know that.
Right.
These cops didn't know that he could have gone back to prison for a DUI. You know what I mean? But he's on the loose. So the thing was, he's on the loose. He's desperate. He may do something to somebody. And it's like, yes and no. Of course, a desperate person will do more than maybe the not desperate person. But you have this man's car. You have his address. You have his license. You have his life right there in your hands, figuratively and literally. And you decided to take it instead of just either shooting him in the legs, taking him away. Plus, also, they told him, hey, why don't you park right here and sleep it off? So why didn't they let him park right there and just sleep it off? after they parked right there, then they tried to get him out and confront him. And I granted maybe they were going to take him for DUI, but you know what? Take his keys away, come back some hours later. I don't know. Like, there's something about policing that when you think it's supposed to be protecting and serving, that's not serving. That's not serving. And they said it some time ago, and I forget where, but it's become more like instead of protect and serve, it's, I don't know, shoot and beat or some crap like that. It's just something ridiculous.
I don't get the reasoning. And it all goes back to training. In your training, where you feel like it's your fight or flight moment. You've been trained with this gun, and you have not been trained to shoot below the waist, which is stupid to me. But you've been trained with this gun, and this guy's taken off with a taser. And in your mind, in that fight or flight reaction, in that short time you have, you decide, okay, he has a taser, he might hurt somebody, so I have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that even jumping in your fucking brain? Why would that be the first way you go? And out of two cops, nobody's aiming at the legs. Like, the plan was to shoot. Like, when you see, like, remember when we were in the East Coast, Amadou Diallo, one who got attacked by the off-duty cops, walking into his building trying to grab his cell phone. 42 times they shot this dude. Yeah. Why in the fuck do a bunch of officers have to shoot one motherfucker 42 times? In what way is that taught, received, and justified? Like, how do you explain that when you're in the academy? Now, listen, if a guy runs away from you, I want you to unload your gun on him. And if you're lucky, you got some partners next to you who will also unload their guns on him, just to make sure he's dead. Like we're water buffalo. Like, I don't get that shit. I've never understood that. Everybody knows you shoot below the waist is not a felony. We learned that on Dave Chappelle, on Chappelle's show. Just shoot him in his fucking kneecaps, dude. Anyway.
I mean, once again, Chappelle shows his genius from way back.
Ahead of his time. So another thing about awareness, since with everybody's being made more aware of things, I've been put into some conversations recently where people, a lot of people of non-color are just now seeing this recent pop-up of lynchings. The modern lynchings that are happening, like the people who are hanging themselves, the people who are hanging themselves, the suicides. If you're listening, you can't see me doing the quotations. I'm doing them very, very dramatically. Suicides that have been taking place where, Black people are just going out in public to public parks in front of everybody and just hanging themselves, which is no proof of it, no proof otherwise. So police are just saying, they're suicides. No, there's no way they were lynched, even though lynching has been going on since I want to say since Black people got here. If not way before. Also, they never stopped. For people to see stuff happening now, and it's on social media, it's popping up in regular news media, these lynchings, people are being hung, strung up, and all this shit. And they're like, oh man, it sucks they started doing that again. No, they didn't start doing shit again. They just never stopped. And it wasn't aware. People have been getting strung up and lynched forever, and just because you're now hearing about it, you're under the impression that, oh, now they're doing that. No, people just didn't give enough of a fuck to put that in the news before at all. Now, because there's a change in the racial climate, now it has to be mentioned. It has to be talked about. It has to be brought to the forefront. But they've been doing that forever. Black people are not surprised that people of color are getting lynched still in 2020. None of them. And if you are surprised, you're naive. You shouldn't be. Educate yourself. There are parts in our country that you just cannot go to as a person of color because they make it known that they will murder you. And they have whatever ties or whatever police force, whatever government officials, you just don't go to those places. I've been through a couple of those places in Texas, and I was told by a white person, don't fucking go that way. We have to go this way. I just don't go that way. That's just how you have to live your life. It sucks. Places like that should be burned to the ground, but they still exist. It's nothing new. What do you think about the suicidal lynchings? Oh my God.
So it's the lynchings. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. They never stopped. We just see them differently now, and see more of them. Now, at least now we're seeing that these are still happening, whether it's by rope, by shooting, whatever. I recently had a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it a breakdown, emotional day, couple days really. Ahmaud Arbery, and it's still kind of getting to me right now. They have new evidence, right? They charged all three of them, murder, all that stuff. But the one who is fighting, talking about I shouldn't be charged with murder, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was just driving. It was now shown by the video and evidence on the truck that that man chased him with the truck and then hit him with the truck and then knocked him over with the door of the truck and stuff like that. So it made it even worse, to think what happened to this man. He wasn't just chased down and then fought for his life and then chased down and shot down. No. They practically they terrified this man, this young man. They terrified him before they killed him. You know what I mean? That is modern homegrown terrorism. You know what I mean? For our president that wants to call all these people who are against him terrorists now, which is just absolutely just stupid, because it's within our right in our country to be able to speak out against anybody, anything, especially injustices. They terrorize this man. So like that really got to me, man. And and so you keep hearing about these other ones, and so the extra awareness, what I'm going to call hyper awareness of what's going on around us is I think is really important, because it's one of those things where you have two black men down here in Southern California, if I'm correct, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, something like that have recently hung themselves. And you did the quotes, and so I'm not going to do quotes again, and the families are outcrying, saying, you know what, black men don't hang themselves.
Not in public like that.
Not in public. Black people don't hang themselves because they know the history of that.
For the most part.
For the most part.
Obviously, there's been black people who've committed suicide.
Yes, absolutely.
For that to happen as often and as common as it is right now it's
that's the insane part. It's like, nah, that's something a little fishy about that. The unfortunate thing, one of the suicides or deemed suicide, there is video evidence that the man did walk into the park and he hung himself. So they got it from, I forget where, like, buildings across the street or something like that. So the other one's still under investigation. But even then, it's like, why would they hang themselves? Especially, I felt like, not like, I was talking about, like, I felt hopeless, and then I got a little hope with all the uprisings and stuff like that. And I don't know how far gone they were mentally to have done that, if they did that to themselves. But because it's, why did they do it to themselves, or why did they let someone force them to do it to themselves? What's going on there? And don't get me wrong, there's men's mental health is a huge issue right now. We're going to get into it on another episode one day. We're going to dig deeper into this, because we are at the age right now where there's a high rate of suicide amongst men in our age group. So we got to get into the racial climate. I feel like is jumping further ahead. It's getting a little bit better, and we're making a little bit of progress, and we're making some waves, and at least talking about it. So we got to get there, but we got to make sure we're at least holding each other down, and reaching out and talking. Unfortunately, this, and I haven't said it yet on the podcast, and even though I found out before the last one, the man I was talking about in our 3 songs episode, he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It does hurt. And it sucks, because I reached out many times and he didn't reach back. But he did talk to people. He died with his family on his deathbed, and hold on. But hopefully he's in a better place, because he was in a lot of pain these last few years. But yeah, so
it's rough. It's understandable for, I don't know. You know what? I always didn't. This phrase when people would say, like, it's in a better place. He's happier now, and it's just so shitty that you can't be happy here. That you have to hope that there's someplace better than here. And I'm not just talking about our country. I'm talking about, if you think there's something better than what's happening on this earth, that sucks. Like, the world is fucking you over. You're not, you can't make it. You can't climb out of this fucking hole. So you have to believe that there's something better somewhere else.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, then what are we here for?
Right.
If we're always thinking there's something better. Now, if you're religious, you believe in there's a heaven or the universe or whatever, and you go there, and you're here to worship whoever you're here to worship. So I get that part. But for those who don't, then what are you here for? If you think there's going to be something better,
right?
Or maybe you don't think there's anything better. Maybe you think this is it, and
maybe you just don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, you just don't want to do it anymore. So, in the vein of modern day lynchings, I have a name for you. Her name is Althea Bernstein. She is a half black, half Jewish woman from Wisconsin who was literally set on fire.
Mm.
She was in her car in Wisconsin. She said it was about 4 white dudes who were calling a nigga, calling her the N-word and all this shit. And then they poured lighter fluid in her face while she's in the car. And she panicked. And when she looked over, a match comes flying in and they set her on fire. And she tried to take off. As she's driving or whatever, the fire's getting put out. She's putting the fire out. She called her mom. She took herself to the hospital, has a bunch of third-degree burns all over her face. This was in the middle of the day. This woman was called a nigga and then set on fire.
Yep.
I feel, and I've been telling people this since the conversation has come up about the change in racial climate. Unfortunately, the law applies. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And for every person who feels like, you know what, Black lives do matter. You know what, I should be more conscious about how I treat people of color. There is somebody on the other side of that who's like, you know what, I just remembered I don't give a fuck about people of color. And I'm going to show you how their lives don't matter. We have the video that we saw of the guy who was ripping the signs down, the Black Lives Matter signs down. And they were like, you know, Black Lives Matter. He goes, not to me, they don't. And he literally meant that. To me, they don't mean they're not worth shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's an opposite to every person you see. You're like, all right, this person got a good heart. Finally, we got a Drew Brees who's listening. He's opening up. He's understanding. There's the other side who's just closing himself off. Who's like, no, the more I think about it, fuck them. Yeah, they should probably be set on fire. Those people exist, and they're not going anywhere at all. And all we're doing now is just making people more aware of those people, but they ain't fucking going nowhere.
Yeah.
They're not going to be put on a boat and shipped the fuck out of America. We have to coexist with these fucking people.
Yeah.
And it's
well, I'm sorry. Finish that line.
No, it's annoying me. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but like nothing surprises me. It's not new. We've been getting set on fire. It's not new.
It's
alive.
It's so wild. It's so wild to think that for years people thought stuff was sweet. You know what I mean? And you know, you're saying that, and the changing racial climate is now shedding light on a lot of things, because this is a pretty big story, so I hope we would have heard it if it wasn't like this going on right now. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if we would have, because I just heard about this young man out of Colorado that happened like about a year ago, I think, something like that. I have to look it up more, but I just heard it right before we got on the air, so I don't know for sure the time frame, but he was a violinist. You know what I mean? Young black violinist living in Colorado, who would play his violin for the animals at the zoo. Somebody called cops on him saying, hey, you know what? This young man's loitering outside. I don't think he has a weapon, but he's outside. He has his hood on. He has a ski mask on. He has a ski mask on because it's Colorado. It's cold as hell. Cops go and try to snatch him up without, getting in front of him, waving their hands, saying, hey, we're police officers. Maybe they didn't know he had headphones on. Besides the point, they didn't do anything to I don't know the full story, so maybe I'm don't know this part. But apparently they didn't go to try identify themselves like, hey, young man, who are you? We are police. What are you doing here? You know what I mean? And at least that maybe would have kept him alive versus them trying to snatch him up. There being a struggle and then them killing him. Like, what? Apparently he was also like high functioning autistic.
Of course.
So it's like, in what world does this make sense? And that's the thing. The world's never going to make sense. We talk about Tupac here and there, and you have that album that we sent out, and the very first one, Young Black Male, on there. And there was a song I heard the other day, and it's just like Tupac in the 90s was talking about a lot of this stuff that we're talking about right now, and his mother was talking about the 20 years before he died, and it's just like, it's never going to freaking end, man. You know what I mean? And with the current racial climate, I gotta say, because of people's feelings and thoughts coming out, it's time to lose some friends. You know what I mean? It really is.
I want to get to that. I want to get into that. We let's take a commercial real quick.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back because I want to talk about how the climate is changing so far, and I'll give you my opinion. We're gonna take a quick commercial. Keep your ears open. Keep your eyes open. We'll be right back. And we back up in this piece. So we were talking about the change in racial climate in America, and not just America. It stretches throughout the world, which we're about to get into. But when I when I
Oh
saw
yes, let's do it. I got some good stuff from Mexico,
perfect,
coming from Mexico.
nice. So I when I saw that the subject matter that we were talking about was a change in racial climate, I saw something pop up, and I was like, man, I cannot give less of a fuck about this, but it has to be talked about. So apparently, how do you change the climate? How can we show people of color and black people that we care about them? What if we take a 25-year-old show like The Bachelor and have our first ever black bachelor?
Hold on,
That'll shut them up. That'll
hold
make
on.
them feel good. Go.
I I know there's 25 seasons, but
I'm
it's
sorry,
not
25
25 years
seasons.
old. Yeah,
25
yeah, okay.
seasons.
I was like, wait, it hasn't been on that long, right?
No,
Not that
it's
old.
been on since '02. Actually. It's almost at 20 years, but you got
Oh
20.
damn.
Yeah. So you got 25 seasons, and they're like, it's time for us to show that we care. Let's get a black bachelor. And everybody's like, oh, really? Are you fucking kidding me? Like the first one, they're, I'm just gonna say his name, I guess, to shout him out. Matt James, 28-year-old bachelor, about to be the first ever black bachelor. I don't know. Kudos to you, Matt James. Way to
You know, speaking of that, it's one of those things where I don't watch The Bachelor, so I've
I've
never paid
never
attention
seen
to
one
who's on
episode.
there. I watched, I think, the very first season because remember that when the first season came out, there was also that one that was a trick. The guy was a bachelor, but he wasn't rich. They tricked everybody anyway.
Yeah, Fox did
So,
some.
so I like that one. That was funny because once they found out he wasn't rich, everything changed. But so it's one of those things where years ago, someone had said, "I'm not watching a show if there's not people of color in it." Period. Like, it doesn't have to be full cast. There's not at least a couple in there that are doing something rather than being just a drug dealer or stuff like that they had done for so long. And I thought about like that. That's actually okay. I got to start thinking like that too. I got to start being aware of these things. And granted, there's still some shows and movies that when I think about them, I go back and I love The Lost Boys and I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off and all that. There's no black people in those movies. That I can remember being anything significant except for in the background. You know what I mean? Maybe
I
one of the
remember.
Frog Brothers is like part Mexican or something like that because he has tan skin. but but I don't know. But so you have to be that aware. But so I had no clue. The Bachelor never had a black bachelor, and it only makes sense because of course they didn't. No one wants to legitimize a rich black man. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to know that that's a real thing because there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, all that exists. They're real. What? I say to people, I've been saying this to you for years, and people are like, "What'd you think about Friends?" or "Don't you like Seinfeld?" I'm like, I don't watch either of those. I couldn't
Nope.
relate because there's no black people. According to
Mm-hmm.
those shows, there's no black people in New York. There's no black people in Seattle. So why the fuck would I watch that show? They're like, well, remember Aisha Tyler showed up in season. What the fuck are you talking about? You're talking
Yeah.
about a show that was long running where everybody's making millions of dollars as the cast, interacting with little to few black people. Like who the
Mm-hmm.
fuck am I gonna relate to on Friends? I don't relate to any of those motherfuckers. Same thing with Seinfeld. It not only is it not funny, okay, they rented that one guy who runs track. What the fuck? That's
Yeah,
not.
exactly. A track runner. Come on.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a fan of shit like that. So I don't really care that The Bachelor has their first ever Black Bachelor. I mean, but shout out to Black Bachelor who's about to go in there. I've never liked The Bachelor because the show in itself is a hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
It makes zero sense to me that there are tons of women who say, I just want one man to just be with me and me only, and then you watch a show about this dude fucking a bunch of random girls. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Do you even know what you want? I'm not a fan of The Bachelor, but we had to mention that. Shout out to Matt James. Another thing that's changing is
I guess
because we're hypersensitive right now, there are things that are popping up that people are like, well, is there anything that we're doing that's culturally insensitive? Enter the people at Quaker who decided they want to change the Aunt Jemima logo. Now, there's a lot of mixed feelings about the Aunt Jemima logo. I know Moms is the one who sent me this story, and she said, how do you feel about it? And I was like, if I'm being honest with you, as far as I know about Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, people like that, they represented who was in the kitchen actually cooking. When white people weren't cooking for themselves because they had slaves, they didn't have to fucking cook. Black people were in the kitchen cooking, and it represents black people in the kitchen cooking. I didn't see it. I don't see it as a racist character. I feel like there's much more important shit we need to work on as opposed to changing the Aunt Jemima logo, which is not that big of a fucking deal to me. But I guess I could see how somebody could be sensitive, hypersensitive to it. Like, well, it just look at her bandana. She represent really. There's so much more important shit just in your local area that You want to worry about Aunt Jemima as opposed to a girl being set on fucking fire. I feel like our priorities are all fucked up. They're all over the place. I don't know how you feel about it, but that's how I feel about it. I could give two shits about the Aunt Jemima logo being changed because I'm still fucking with Mrs. Butterworth. What I'm saying is, I like them thick, okay? A little bit of meat on the bone, you know what I'm saying? Mrs. Butterworth, the Colonel did it right, man, in the KFC commercial. Mrs. Butterworth can get it, all right? What do you think?
I'm gonna let you have that one, man. Cause honestly, I get the sensitivity about Jemima and Carson, and I get that maybe they do need to be changed because they're probably outdated. So I always wondered. I never looked up the historical reference to them to see who they actually represent. But coming from you, you understand that those are people who are in the kitchen. My thing is, I don't mess with that rice anyway because I think it's disgusting. And high fructose corn syrup made into syrup to use on your pancakes, I also find disgusting. I use real maple syrup. Sorry, I don't know what to say about that. I deal with the real stuff. Maple syrup. It's like crack coming from Canada. I take that all day because
Right?
that's stuff I haven't had in years. I find it disgusting. So
It's
I
a
think it's
boot to get real,
unfortunate
eh?
that these.
It's a boot to get real.
I feel like it's unfortunate that you have these two characters on really crappy products, but tons of people eat that garbage. So whatever.
The good I told moms, the good I can get from this is I like that there's a company that's been around forever that's being forced to change. Which good. If you see it in movies all the time, you read it in books all the time, you read stories, you're like, all right, this company's been around for 50 years. They've been doing it this way. The world is changing, so you have to change. So come up
Yeah.
with some new shit. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Come
Cool
up with
with
some new shit. Force these old
Now,
companies to have to do new shit. That part I'm cool with.
the other stuff that there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, man. That's changing right now. There's calls right now. I just saw another article about this over the last couple of days to rename John Wayne Airport. For one, I don't really watch John Wayne movies, but apparently he said some racist crap back in the day. And they're like, you know what? Get his name off.
Keep
And it's
Genghis Khan, bro. Like,
so there's a lot of this stuff going on, and there's like saints, people who have been sainted, achieved sainthood and canonized by the church that have now been, those statues are being torn down and all that. So what's cool about it for me, being a history buff like I am, or try to be, I don't get too much into it these days, is I'm learning about all these things I had no clue about. I don't pay attention to anything John Wayne, except for that the John Wayne Airport is where I take people when I Uber. So the fact that he was racist, I'm not surprised.
of course,
I'm not
the dude
surprised
was
that the
racist.
greatest cowboy on TV, besides
the
Clint
dude.
Eastwood, was a racist. Okay, there's a ton of others that we probably got to change now. How long it's going to all take? I don't know, but I don't know. It's tough to even call about it because one person said the other day, and this was actually a really good podcast that Don Lemon from CNN just started. It's a short one. It's all on the racial climate, stuff like that. But one person on there said there's something about sanitizing history. Maybe it was him. I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter. Sanitizing history by taking down all these statues and changing everything. And to me, it's not about sanitizing history. It's about making history, or not making history, but putting people in places and putting names on things that aren't representative of someone who is a bigot and racist, a slave owner, this and that. We don't need those. Put those guys in a museum. Leave those statues there so people can walk around like, oh, okay, this guy was this guy, this guy was this guy, and maybe put something a little more positive in there. Someone who did something well, like NASA has done. As a matter of fact, have you heard about that?
No.
My bad. I didn't put that one in the notes. I don't think. But did you hear about NASA?
Nope.
So there's a Hidden Figures Way now in wherever NASA's at. Anyway,
Okay.
gosh darn it, I can't remember her name now. I have all the notes in the phone that I now have to use for this damn video call. But so the person who Janelle Monáe plays in Hidden Figures,
Okay.
NASA has now renamed the main building after her.
Nice.
Big ups.
That's cool.
I'll remember her name and we'll post it on there to remind people. But it's cool stuff like that. And like that's what you should do. I don't know the name that was on it before, but put names of people who really set forward in the right direction humanity. You know what I mean?
I think statues, in my opinion, stay up too long. If there's a statue that like this person was great in this time for this reason, but since that statue was put up, people from this area have done some great shit.
Mm.
Some of them deserve statues. those statues, like you said, should probably go to a museum, and a new statue should be erected every, let's say, like 50 years. Like, who's done something in the last 50 years to where you can take down these old Confederate statues and all this shit? You're telling me nobody's done anything great in these towns and these states and these cities since this dude, this Confederate guy was up? Like, come on,
Yeah.
update your city. I feel like it should be like, update your city. When you do your city, I understand you want it to be historical. You want people to come see your historic city. But at the same time, a lot of shit's been done since those statues were erected. So take somebody new and put them there. Be like, however, since like this person, we have clean water because of this motherfucker. He ain't got no statue. But this
Yeah.
guy rode, he rode during the Civil War. So what?
Yeah.
Push. We got books of that.
Well,
That's history to push.
you know what's crazy about that is, okay, so to clarify, it's Mary Jackson, Mary W. Jackson, who Janelle Monáe plays in Hidden Figures. They named the headquarters after her in D.C., which I think is tremendous because she was highly, highly intelligent and extremely influential in the aerodynamics of the rockets and all that.
Right.
That to this day are still being used to actually create these rockets still. And also the auto industry took these ideas, and that's why cars are streamlined. So this lady's influence is felt worldwide, and people didn't even realize this, right? So I love that. But I love your idea about the statues. I love that replacing them every so often. One thing about people don't understand when it comes to the Confederacy, for one, is that it was short-lived. It was 5 years. They got their asses whipped. The whole country got their ass whipped, but they got squashed. That those Robert E. Lee statues went up decades after the war. They came up in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So all these people who think, oh yeah, we erected this for this and that, and Robert E. Lee himself said he doesn't want anything erected for him to commemorate him because that's not what he was about. You know what I mean? And I talked to Valtteri about this. Whether Robert E. Lee was a full-on slave-owning, I'm going to beat my slaves racist person, I don't know for sure. I haven't read the writings of Robert E. Lee.
I never met him.
I do know, and exactly. But what I do know is that the man was not only fighting to keep a way of life, but he was fighting for people to be out of his business, like the government. Because for him, it was also, okay, you're going to take away slavery. When's it going to end? What else are you going to tell me I have to do? And granted, taking away slavery was utmost importance. You know what I mean? Which, granted, we don't know the full motivations for it anyway. It could have been just a political move. It was the right move, regardless of what move it was. It was the right move. But he was fighting for more than just that. But it doesn't make it right. That's the thing. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make him right in any way. Because he still was fighting on the wrong side of history for his 5-year Confederacy that got their asses whipped. But people, I want to keep reminding people that I think every episode, you lasted 5 years and you keep trying to put this flag in people's face. You know what I mean? Because
wreck some new shit. So as we're stretching out to worldwide, I know you got something from Mexico. So a friend of mine, Uncle Ben, hit me. He was like, "Have you seen what's happening with the soccer jerseys in the Bundesliga and in the European Soccer League?" I was like, "No." He showed me that the German team in the Bundesliga started wearing Black Lives Matter jerseys.
Of all people in the world, the German team,
right?
The people that these races out here idolize.
Yeah.
And you see why it doesn't make any sense? You see why it doesn't make any sense? Like, they idolize the German Nazis, who are now not the Nazis anymore, who are now being the front runners in Black Lives Matter jerseys for soccer. Come on.
It's beautiful. And he was
trying too loud.
How racist. No, it's like the racism in Europe and in Germany. And I was like, that's incredible, man. They put out the jerseys and they sold out right away. Everybody wanted a German Black Lives Matter jersey.
I want one. Where's mine?
Right. Well, I mean, they're expensive right now. But they all wanted one. So then everybody started following suit. To the point, like the women's national soccer team, they came out, they had their jerseys, and they took a knee during the national anthem, and it was the first public showing of a team taking a knee during the national anthem since the change in a racial climate. So I expect to see it a lot more as more sports start to pick back up. I expect I don't know. I love the show of this is bigger than us. This is bigger than you and me. It's a huge deal. It affects everybody. Even though you feel like they're not affected, it does affect you.
That's huge. That is huge. And you know why? It's because everyone's always asking for the sports athletes to say something, especially the big guys, right? LeBron's always doing it. Jordan's finally doing it a little bit. Maybe he's done little things, like we said, giving the charities all these times, and we never knew, and that's fine. But a lot of these leagues are doing it, and they're making a show of it. And you know what? And that is also important. We don't need to know every single person that's donating to a charity. We don't need to know every single company. But it's important for the big people and the big companies to sometimes say, you know what? I'm part of this. We're part of this. We're doing this together like this. Because not everyone feels like Charles Barkley and saying, don't idolize sports players. I'm not your idol. I'm not your role model. You know what I mean? And he's right and wrong with that, in my opinion. In my old school opinion, when you have that kind of platform, you are a role model, whether you want to be or not. You can choose to be the anti-role model. He was exactly that. Remember his commercials? His commercials were all aggressive and angry and stuff like that because he was the anti-role model.
Right.
But he still did. But people still idolize him. My favorite player besides Magic was Charles Barkley. You know what I mean, I played my game like Charles Barkley. I can never shoot like the man. He was great at that. But I was aggressive the way he was on the court. Plus, I wasn't very tall, so I kind of had to use my strength. But so there's two sides to that coin, and I love that these things are coming out like this. And PayPal has put $350 million into Black Lives Matter funds. $350 million from PayPal. Granted, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Amazon's doing it. You know, I love that they're joining in, whether it's to get more FaceTime for themselves and get more sponsor, whatever. That's fine. But it's in the right direction. And these communities that need this stuff, they need it, and they need it badly. You know, Compton, I don't know if you've been to Compton recently, but Compton is still Compton.
Yeah.
East LA is still East LA. South Central still. All these famous cities growing up are still down at the bottom. Granted, some of them have been rising, but they're still not good. And when you drive through them, you're like, this is why this stuff is happening. Because you're looking at these streets and you're like, this is supposed to be where people are trying to get a better life. This doesn't even make any sense. And finally, some of this stuff is going to change. You know, we need to defund the police a little bit more, a lot more, to put more money in those communities, build some parks, build some good places to be at, without gentrifying the community, without pushing people out, because the new supermarket is now a Whole Foods. People next door's value went up, and now they can't live there. No. We need to change it without pushing them out, and that's a hard thing to do, but it's got to be done. You know what I mean? So it's one of those huge things. Speaking of that, you know, we're talking about sports. Oh, I'll bring up the Mexico thing because you brought up soccer, and soccer is their number one thing. So this is just a little tidbit. They're also fighting for their police brutality, for their rights against police brutality, not just because of Black Lives Matter, but because Mexican lives matter, right? So
Mexican police are the worst.
Yeah. So I don't know if you and it's been shown in movie after movie, documentary after documentary, like real life TV shows, news, and all that. That the Mexico police force all around the country are super corrupt. There's probably a few good ones that can't do enough. They're not enough for them to do enough of anything, right? And they get killed. And you know, the Mexican mobs and all that have killed thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years, right? Right now, the youth in Mexico is fighting against police brutality. They're going hard, son. They are rioting like nobody's business, or they have been. Unfortunately, it kind of connects the Althea Bernstein, who was set on fire. They are doing the same thing to police out there. So the video I saw, this young man went up to a cop, doused him in lighter fluid, lit his ass on fire. And I was like, I don't know if I believe in that part, unless that cop is super bad and he needs to go. But like, that's crazy. My thing is like, is it Mexican Lives Matter then down there? Because if you think about it, and it made me think about this, in our country, it's mostly white force against black people, right, and other people. In Mexico, it's a Mexican force against Mexican people. So it's like, is it even worse? I don't think it's a Mexican Lives Matter. I think it's a Civilian Lives Matter. Civilian lives, yes, exactly. So it has to be like that, and it's so much more impactful that the youth there is doing it there now, because the youth has now been having to deal with this, for all this time, and they're trying to push their own thing to get better out there. It's crazy. It's wild. So on that, we'll get to like your friends. I have never, in my generation, I mean, we call ourselves old school. We give our old school perspective. In my soon to be 40 years, I've never seen an event
this big that is, I'm sorry, I apologize. One time in my life have I seen so many people unfriend each other. And that was during the OJ trial. Remember during the OJ trial, it was black and white, and it was less about the case of this man killing his wife and her boyfriend, and more about the color of his skin.
Yes, it did become that, unfortunately.
It became that, unfortunately, because it became a racial issue. Then people started to when they would take sides, they wouldn't argue about the case. Then they started arguing about race. And then people started realizing some of their friends are fucking racist. And they started not hanging out with said friends anymore. So that was a smaller scale version of what's happening right now. Now, it's such a big deal. And because of social media, everybody's opinion can be posted wherever the fuck they want it to be. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody can post it for the whole world to see their opinion. And because of that, people are starting. I personally have deleted a few people, but after having conversations, what's your thinking on this? What's your thought process behind this? Why would you do it like that? Some of them, I'm like, okay, I understand when somebody puts Black Lives Matter and they throw it in your face, you have to be like, well, what about the cops? You know, cops have this and all this shit. And I say, well, you know, black people don't sign up to be black. Black people don't go to the Black Academy to train on how to be black and not get murdered.
That's not a thing?
That's not.
No. The Black Academy's not a thing. Not the murder part. The Black Academy's not a thing.
Tyler Perry's making it as we speak. There's not the black. It's like it's all black superheroes. It's not.
I need a Puerto Rican Academy because I need to know what I'm doing here.
There's no. You can't choose to be a person of color, but you can choose to be a cop. So you can't put those in the same vein. You can't have that conversation.
Not even close.
As you know me, I don't give a fuck about politics. I'm not very political. But when the conversation of race came up, this person went from Donald Trump to then the Confederate flag to then it was one meme. It took one meme for me to be like, we are no longer having conversations.
I had something like that. Go ahead.
Dude, a meme. It took a meme for me to not be this person's friend anymore. And the meme was a picture of George Floyd's face. And it said, at least he's been sober for 2 months. And I was like, what? Dunzo.
I'm gonna tell you like we told people in high school. All right, and I'm not this person anymore. Bitches get slapped for less than that.
For less than that.
Bitches get slapped for less than that. And I don't mean females. I mean bitches. Yeah,
bitch ass niggas. You are not only making mockery of this man's death, but you think it's funny to mock it in a way that you know it's a lot of people are very sensitive to, and that to you is fucking funny. We have nothing to talk about. We can't be friends.
It's not even about sensitivity. It's just wrong. You're mocking this man's death, who died in a horrible way.
This man was executed publicly, and it's funny for you to be like, well, he used to be a drunk. Fuck you. I can't. Yeah. So people are losing friends left and right. You are finding out how your friends really feel about issues that affect you and your family. And it's not a political thing anymore. It's not even you're a Democrat and Republican. No. You feel a certain way about people of color. I am a person of color. That means regardless of what the fuck you say to me, you feel a certain way about me. I'm sick of this shit where people are like, no, I'm not racist. I have a black friend. Fuck you. Why can you count how many black friends you have? The fuck does that mean? I can't count my white friends. What the fuck I look like being black?
It doesn't mean anything, man. It doesn't mean jack shit.
It's bullshit. I'm not a fan of it. And people are starting to realize this, and they're starting to see all their friends around them. Oh, shit, I didn't know. You know what? Well, damn, Todd. I had no idea you felt this way. Speak more on it. All right, cool. We can't be friends anymore, Todd. Sorry. Well, but no, I get it. No, you think I'm entertaining and we drink together and all that. No, we're not doing that shit anymore. I'm done dancing for you. Fuck this. Because now I know how you truly see me. I know how you see my people. And that means if you didn't get the time to know me and take the time to know me, you would treat me like you treat these other motherfuckers. So fuck you, Todd. I don't know what Todd. I just like using that name. I know I ain't trying to fuck with you.
That's a good point though, because so and so got to know you. Oh, you're cool, but they still feel the way they feel about your people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like it's the way I feel about how Puerto Ricans are all the time. You know what I mean? They will know a few people that they're cool with, but as soon as one gets out of line, they're all bad. You know what I mean? And it's like Granted, I say Puerto Rican, but that could be with anybody, right? But Puerto Ricans, we have a really crazy thing about us. Some of us are white, some of us are black, a lot of us are in between. As you see, I'm pink. You know what I mean? So I've said it before. I'm gonna keep saying it, and it just kind of kills me because it's like you're not thinking. You think you're something better. You think you're something different. You know why though? It's the unfortunate thing. We're brought up to not think that we're black. Oh, I'm not black. I'm Spanish, and that's just insane. So unfortunately, though, lots of Puerto Ricans out there treat black people as less than or as different, even if a bunch of their friends are black Puerto Ricans. They won't treat the black Puerto Ricans different. Oh, because they're Puerto Rican, they're Spanish. They speak Spanish. They speak the way I do. You know what I mean? But the other black person, the African American, no, they're different. No, asshole, you're different. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, and you know, it's funny since all this been going on. I've been wondering, how does Big Papi think? You know, you do that thing. It's like, does he think he's not black because he's Dominican? Because they do that too. All the Caribbean island people do this. It's crazy. It drives me bananas. We'll talk about that another time. It's a deep issue. It's a deep issue inside like this like lack of awareness and self-hatred. It's crazy. But that's the huge point right there. Is like, you may not see me like that because I'm the cool one. I'm different.
Right.
But you see the people like that. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, I learned this about my grandfather some years ago. And he did the same thing. I'm the skin tone of my grandfather, very light. My grandmother is yours. You've met her. So we have a white Puerto Rican and a black Puerto Rican that got together. And apparently my grandfather used to say stuff about black people. And my grandmother would be like, what about me?
Right.
And he would say, oh, you're different. And you know what? That's unfortunate because I didn't know that part about my grandfather. It's just a story I heard. You know what I mean? And of course, he never treated me like that because he's my grandfather. And he never treated any of his kids less than because they were maybe a little bit browner. You know, or any of the grandkids. I never felt like that was happening. But that's a story I heard from what he used to do way back. You know, and it's one of those things like this stuff gets ingrained in you. And what does it take to get it out? When you're older, it's very hard because you have all these things and you have all these experiences. And he was a security guard, so in the 70s and 60s and 80s, so he saw a lot of crap. You know what I mean, from all kinds of sides of people, and was security guard through the crack era and stuff like that. So his experiences are very, very different. Unfortunately, he's deceased, and I can never talk to him about this. I always want to do an interview with him. You were there the day I found out he died. You know, I always wanted to have an interview with him and just interview him about his life because I didn't know enough about him. Maybe I'll hopefully be able to still do that with my grandmother, or my grandmothers. I still have more than one. So it's not enough anymore. It's not enough to just call them out. You know what I mean? It's not enough to just say, you know what, let's talk about this. Nah, you know what? You're too stupid. That's how I'm feeling. You're too stupid. I don't even want to talk to you anymore because I had to do the same thing. I had somebody posted like this meme and multiple memes. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, that's it. That's a wrap. And I had already kind of been thinking about it because he already done a few things. I was like, that's suspect. And I already, and
to begin with,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but he put these other ones up like, okay, that's it. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Like this is over. You were already on the way out. We're definitely not chill right now. If I see him, okay, what up? That's it. We're gonna keep it moving. How you been? Great. All right. Crazy thing is, he is a brown he's a brown Mexican, and he is a Trump supporter, cop supporter, all this other stuff, constantly bashing, you know, Democrats and this and that, which is whatever. I don't care about your political affiliation. Right. You could be Republican. Just don't be a Trump supporter because we know that that's BS. Because these Republicans voted for him so that they can stay in line. We already showed many times the contradiction that they have with themselves and Trump. The way they blasted him, called him out for being whoever he was, and then as soon as he became president, oh, we support everything he's done, and blah blah. He's who he is. And it's like, wow. You lost your balls in 2 seconds. Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? Your balls got cut in 2 seconds because you're afraid of losing your little bit of power that you have. You know what? And I'm gonna tell them again. I'm gonna tell them again, like I tell them every time. You're on notice, bitch. You're on notice. I know who you are on my voting ballot. All right, I know who you are, and I'm gonna vote you out. I'm gonna do what I can to get you out. Period. Like that's how it's gonna be. You know what I mean? And we have to do this. We have to make this happen. Like I can't.
The best
so much energy.
I actually just saw right before we started. It said, and this is for the guys out there. Imagine you're having sex with a girl, and you say, "You like this dick?" And she says, I like all dicks. That's what you sound like when you say all lives matter. What do you mean you like all? That's what the fuck you sound like. And I was like,
Yep.
that's brilliant. That's what you sound like. You sound stupid. Not
Yeah.
the issue. Doesn't matter.
So let's take it back to some sports though, because I gotta say, man, I'm not excited for any sports to come back right now. Not that I don't want to see some seasons finish, because unfortunately, I do feel like the Lakers were on their path to win a championship, and they may not get it.
Knows that Giannis was gonna take it, man. What is wrong with you, bro?
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like we had this year. We were trending in the right direction. So, but where it's gonna go, I don't know. Baseball's talking about a 60-game season. 60 games? That's not even half.
Yeah.
Why bother?
Yeah.
They do 60 games in a month. But and so, but we got to bring up NASCAR, baby.
So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it's going to stretch the episode out, because there's been a lot of good and a lot of bad from NASCAR.
Yeah.
So I guess in a nutshell,
yeah.
First we talked last week or last episode about the Italian dude who quit because they took down the Confederate flags, which good riddance, motherfucker. But then there's a whole thing that happened with Bubba Wallace, who was the black driver in NASCAR. The only black driver in NASCAR. And there was a report that he found a noose in his garage. And the response was incredible because all the drivers and pit crew all came together in a show of support for Bubba Wallace to say to him and to the world, this is not okay. If it's not okay, racism's not okay, we stand against it, which of all places, all sports, NASCAR, you're like, wow, that's crazy. That's dope. And then they said they did an investigation. And the investigation, they said the noose had been there for a while. It was before he even got there. And then there's a question of why the fuck is there a noose in the first place? Yeah. And it's just a whole, it doesn't matter. The thing that I take from it, the positive I take from it is that out of the first sign of the black man in their sport being disrespected, they all came together and rallied behind him. That's what I pulled from what happened with NASCAR. And it doesn't make me more of a NASCAR fan, but it makes me appreciate the people behind the sport, if that means anything.
No, absolutely. That's important. And here's the big deal about it is it was reported not even by him. It was reported by someone who saw it. Like, okay, this is happening. Right. It turns out that new style rope had been there for months. And here's the point I'm making about it is I don't care if it has been there for months and then it was investigated that it was nothing nefarious. It's still the only new style rope in the over thousands of garages that they have. And I don't care if you found it 6 months ago. I don't care if you found it today because you're hyper aware and you just know it's like, oh, damn, that's a noose rope. If it makes them uncomfortable, get rid of it. Like, that's the point, right? One thing that was cool about it, they did rally around him. What was really cool is the other drivers, and I think it was at Talladega, all pushed this car to the starting line. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is amazing show of solidarity. You know what I mean? And also an update that just happened, I think this past few days though, unfortunately, is that the US Speedway, the owner was advertising a Bubba rope for sale. So here's one of those things that we have to pay attention to these things. The owner of this Speedway obviously needs to get kicked out. Kind of like Sterling did off the Clippers. Make this guy sell. Get him out of there. He's talking about selling a Bubba rope for US Speedway as an advertisement. You know what I mean? Because they want to say that he was doing a hoax. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. He's not even the one who reported it. Right. He's not even the one who reported it. It was brought to NASCAR's attention by a staffer checking garages or something. I don't even know the whole thing on that one. So for this to happen and this guy to come out like this nonsense, you know what I mean? And they lost sponsors. Another raceway lost sponsors. US Motor Speedway, another one. And it's just like, they should lose sponsors. You shouldn't even race there. You should be like, you know what? This race is canceled. All your fans go home. We're not coming here again until you fix this asshole and get him out. You know what I mean? One thing I always wish to this day that had happened when the Donald Sterling thing happened was I wish the Clippers would have boycotted that game. I understand why they didn't, but I do wish they would have done it because it would have shown even more how much it affected them because they lost the series and it was a big deal. So I don't know, man, but it's crazy.
What's part of the changing racial climate is if that would have happened now, they would probably boycott the game now. Yeah. There is some.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. My problem with sports coming back, as much as I love sports, and I would love to see, because I feel like the Yankees, Come on, man. You give us 60 games. That's a wrap, motherfuckers. We got this. All we got to do is avoid injury. Our biggest problem is we get hurt toward the end of the year and go into the playoffs half match. Like, I don't like that shit. So 60 games, hey.
60 games is basically preseason for
Right?
them.
Exactly. Dominating preseason. As much as I would love to see sports come back, there's so many reasons why they should not. And not just off the health reasons and the safety reasons, because people are going to get sick. You're going to have this many people packed into a spot. People are going to get sick. They are going to catch it, and it's going to get shut down. But my thing is, why are you in such a hurry to play a season that will always have an asterisk next to it? Like, it wasn't a full season. I get the money part and the revenue, and you want to get paid, and athletes want to get paid. I understand that fully. It's just, if the fucking Lakers win a championship from this restart, they didn't win no fucking championship.
Hey, they still won like 50 games already or something like that.
Fuck, so did the Bucks. I don't give a fuck. Time off was like, let's see, this is like a game of attrition now. Who was staying in shape during fucking
of course
COVID-19? You know what I mean? And that's,
you know who's not? LeBron's hair is not staying in shape. Have you seen him recently? Hey, but you know what? At least he has it. He has it more than I thought. So
I want him to just go bald, man. Just cut it. I don't want to see these half played sports. I get the monetary value in it, and I understand the need to want to see people. But I'll give an example. Buddy of mine, Rams tickets. They were like, so just so you know, what football's going to start doing is he has like front row seats. They're going to block off the first 8 rows and allow the stadiums to use those 8 rows for sponsorship. So the players and the fans aren't close to each other, and the stadium owners get to make a little bit of money because they'll put like a sponsored ad right there. Like, you watch baseball and on the back.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, they want to do that for the first 8 rows of every football stadium. So the people who have those seats, they're like, sorry, fuck you. You'll be, instead of being on the grass, on the turf right there by the players, you'll be in row 8, and then everybody else gets pushed back so that they can make some sponsorship shit. And even at that point, they have to, you have to go down to 60% of fans in the stadium, which is still a lot of motherfuckers in the stadium.
Probably even less, depending on the size of the seats and stuff like that.
So it's one of those just wait, just hold off. If your season was supposed to end, that's what happened in that year. Your season ended, man. With baseball, you trying to push or halfway do it, I understand the fandom of it, but you're putting players at risk. People could get sick. And at the end of the year, it won't fucking count anyway. It's not going to count. Why are you in such a hurry to play some shit that doesn't? For people who are doing it for the championships, like I said, I get it. You want to make that money. You need to get paid. But is it worth it?
The thing is, it's about lives. You need to try and save lives, and you're not going to do that by packing stadiums and having sports players, contract the virus and spread the virus. And even if they're compacted in one spot, like in Florida, which of course now is the worst place to be, but you can't go forward with it. And I totally get economically, you kind of feel like you need to. I get that. There's people out there going to work sick. We get that. And they've been doing that for years because they can't afford not to. But you still, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's a really, really tough call because, a lot of the people who are talking about the economy opening up, they're thinking about acceptable losses. You know what I mean? These are acceptable losses to keep the economy going. And you know what? That shouldn't even be the conversation. There should not be acceptable losses to keep the economy going, because you don't need to have any losses to keep the economy going. You can just, keep people paid, as a lot of other countries did. They actually paid a salary out to people for the months. And granted, we're not socialists like that, and people want to always talk about how bad that is, but it's not. You want to keep people afloat. You want to keep people going. You want to keep them from losing their minds. Let them stay home, but pay them so that they don't feel like they're going to lose everything. It's a tough call. I'm not in government. I don't make the money, so I don't know.
Right. I like that. I don't understand why. Now you're in a league. You were talking about billionaires who own teams. You were telling me they can't put a fucking fund together that disperses like what the country did with us. Put fund together all right, NBA players, NFL players, this is the fund. Everybody, depending on how long you've been here, whatever, gets this much. Now, it's not going to be the millions you were making, but you're still making money.
Yeah.
Whether you have a lifestyle that you can maintain or whatever, we don't know. But we have a fund. We put money together because we understand we're all getting hurt. But this is that time, like what Tupac was saying in his interview. Like, I don't understand how you could be a multi-millionaire, and you're walking by somebody who hasn't had fucking food that day, people who can't fucking eat. You don't need that much. You are a fucking league. You own a team. You are rich as shit. Your family is fucking taken care of. You can't take $1 million or fucking $500,000 and put it towards a league that you know when it comes back up is gonna pay you fucking 5 times over. It's a fucking investment. Pay the players to make some kind of money. I mean, I'm hoping they're already doing that. I don't know if they are, but if you do that, then you don't have to rush back the players to try to make up some money. Well, we got to make up that ground, the sponsorships. We need these players to come get it. We got to make them. No, you don't. You don't.
There's talks back and forth about it, and it's one of those things that we'll never know the inside details about some of it until a deal is made. When the deal is made, then we're like, okay, that's what they decided on, whether it was fair for them. Some people aren't going to like it, some people are, but you got to do what's best overall.
Show up in Florida for the reignition of the season with 22 teams in it, and fucking Rudy Gobert starts coughing on niggas, and then guess what? It's shut down again. French bastard.
Every time you bring him up, every time.
Dude, I was watching that game, and Rudy Gobert, they're like, folks, we got to call time out. Rudy Gobert was sick and apparently hugging and kissing up on all his players as a joke.
Well, do you remember also in one of the interviews leading up to the end of the season, he like touched all the mics and all that. It was crazy. Like, what are you doing? As a joke, like, and he touched them all as he left. Like, oh my gosh, this
like,
guy.
All right, pandemic, and you just see his stupid face.
Yeah.
I mean, fucked up. We got to get up out of here. We've been running a little bit long. We'll catch up on we got some other stuff we want to add. We'll throw in the next one. We got to talk about the Redskins. There's stuff that's happening. The best part about this is if you have a podcast and you talk about issues that are taking place right now, you are not running out of content, folks. Something new happens every fucking day. So we will be back in your grill in another 2 weeks. Thank you for tuning in. All up in your grill. Why you all in my grill? Like every 90s video ever when the rappers get up in there.
Busta, Missy, Dre, everybody.
Yeah, we're Redman. So we got to get up out of here. Anything else you want to say to the people before we bounce? Or no?
Stop being stupid.
Just stop being stupid. Or the way I like to say it, be smart. It's your boy Sean Q, Jay Roman.
We out. Peace.
Keep it old school.